Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lindy Malinga, aka Slee. If you are new to this channel, baby, you are welcome. You are so welcome. So if you are new indeed, I make faith-based content. I share vlogs, share health recipes, and just encouraging and be a word of encouragement to you, and just anything that the Lord sends me through a word of knowledge or a prophetic word or just a rhema word. It is all on this channel. So today I have a message about pompous self-righteous behavior. This is based out of a story in 2 Kings chapter 5. I was actually laughing when the story was brought back to my remembrance. I remember when I was studying the book of 2 Kings, there was just a whole lot of drama, guys. Prophet Elijah had gone up. He was one of the people that never felt death. He experienced death. The Lord took him up to the heavens, and then he gets his protege, the prophet Elijah, who asks him if he could give him anything. He asked the prophet Elijah, what would that be? And prophet Elijah says, if you could give me a double of what you got here, what you got going on here, which is his gifts. So obviously he gets that. He's obedient to Elijah even prior to him shooting up to heaven. Story here in chapter 5 of 2 Kings is about a Naaman, a person or a chief of staff who is one of the king's second command, I think, in Judah. So one thing about 2 Kings, there's a lot of tribes. So sometimes you get a little bit of confused in terms of which tribe was this king serving or this chief was serving. But if I'm not mistaken, he was under the Judah tribe, one of the Judah tribe, right? And then he had a skin disease, and during one of their many wars, the king of that time, King Aram, had brought in a maidservant to help Naaman's wife just with things in the house. And the lady was like, why don't you go, if my master could only go see a prophet in Samaria and he will be completely healed. So Naaman was like, okay, is this what's going down in Samaria? Let me ask my king, and then obviously he gets his king to write a letter. The king addresses the letter to the king of Israel, who, I will read this portion, which is hilarious, who says, am I a God killing and giving life, that this man expects me to cure a man of his skin disease? Recognize that he is only picking a fight with me. So again, I'll tell you what I wanted to share about self-righteous behavior, but I want you guys to get the context here, okay? But before I go through the whole story, what I want to say is sometimes your miracle, your blessing does not look like what you have envisioned. And sometimes what you expect from someone who is going to give you that blessing or miracle is not what you might not look exactly how you might not be treated how you would want to be treated. Okay, so let's just go back a little. This guy has a skin disease. Okay, he is the one that is in need. So normally when you are the one that's in need, you will follow the instructions. You will not hold back. I'm not saying you're not going to challenge, but you're going to be open to whatever that person who is supposed to help you are going to do. Okay, so I'm going ahead of myself here, but the king made a mistake. The king of Judah made a mistake by writing to the king of Israel for the miracle that Naaman needed. He was supposed to address it to Elijah. Only after the king of Israel read the letter, he was like, am I a God that I will give you life and heal you of disease? Is this man trying to start a fight with me? In those days, fighting and just offenses were a thing. People were just fighting for stupid things. So anyway, he gets offended, he gets a bit hysterical, and he loses it. So then after that, he says, in verse 8 of chapter 5 of 2 Kings, it says, when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a message to the king, why have you torn your clothes? Have him come to me, and he will know where is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's house. This is the fun part. Then Elisha in verse 10 sent him a messenger. Okay, now remember, this guy's a commander of the army for the king of Judah, so he deems himself as pretty important, right? But Elisha, the prophets in those days were quite a big deal. The fact that he was quite close to the king, he was asking him, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you tearing off your clothes? Just give the man to me. So then he says to the messenger, go tell him, meaning go tell Nehemiah, go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your skin will be restored and you will be clean. So Elisha doesn't even come to the door. He doesn't even share this message to him directly, or this instructions to him. He tells a messenger to tell the commander of the army of Judah to go cleanse himself in the Jordan River 7 times. Okay, now this is where it gets a bit tricky. Okay, Naaman got angry. In verse 11 it says, Naaman got angry and left, saying, I was telling myself, he will surely come out, stand and call on the name of the Lord of his God, and wave his hand over the place and cure the disease. So he had an idea of how his blessing or how his miracle would look like. You know, just stand out there and just wander your sword, and let's see if my healing will come. Remember, guys, okay, some context. The Jordan River was actually quite a dirty place. So I will read that for you in terms of just how it appeared. So, okay, so so Naaman, so the commentary says here, Naaman just wanted a quick fix to his flesh without recognizing that his real problem was his heart. A lot of people today have the same attitude. So in verse 12 it says, aren't Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? So now he's comparing the Jordan River to other sets of rivers. Like, why would you send me to such a dirty place? Why would you send me to such a not so pretty place, right? So now he's not only angry that he didn't come out and do what he needed to do the way he had wanted to do. Now he's saying, why would you send me to such a dirty river? Why don't you send me to this river instead? And then he says, couldn't I wash in them and be clean? So he turned and left in range. But his servants approached and said to him, my father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more should you do it when he only tells you, wash and be clean? So Naaman went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times according to the command of the man of God. Then his skin was restored and came like the skin of a small boy, and he was clean. Then Naaman and his whole company went back to the man of God, stood before him and declared, I know there's no God in the whole world except in Israel. Therefore, please accept a gift from your servant. But Elisha said, as the Lord lives in whose presence I stand, I will not accept it. Naaman urged him to accept it, but he refused. Naaman responded, if not, please let your servant be given as much straw as... Okay, no, not this part. So back in the days, the prophet of the Lord will normally never accept a gift, right? And that's why these days, you know, you are under a false prophet when all they seem to want from you is gifts. Okay, so Naaman was like, keep your gift, go on. I mean, the prophet Elijah was like, keep your gift, go on in your merry way. Okay. So what I wanted to share, that it's so important to be humble and to just walk in humility and not to expect your blessing or the person who's going to be giving you that blessing or miracle to look a certain way. The commander-in-chief Naaman had an attitude that he wanted the way he was supposed to receive his miracle was supposed to come in a particular fashion. He was supposed to go to a specific river. The prophet Elijah was supposed to meet him outside, you know, instead of sending a messenger. The prophet Elijah was not a man of titles. He never cared, you know. Most of the prophets of the Lord never cared much about recognition or to be seen, titles. They were never driven by the crowd and so forth. They were very confident in who they were in God and what God had given them, and they knew their assignments. So even when the commander-in-chief, Naaman, wanted to offer him a gift, the prophet Elijah was like, no thank you, you can keep your gift. And because God did not just want to heal Naaman, he also wanted to change his heart. He had a heart that was higher than ours. He had a self-righteous attitude. He looked down on the prophet, thinking the prophet was supposed to, shower him in certain aspects because he's the commander-in-chief. And this was not the case, right? The commentary that I found from the Bible is that the conceited commander, so now I'm reading the commentary. The conceited commander, with his ideas about the superiority of his own homeland, wasn't about to be humiliated by a two-bit prophet from a country that he routinely beat up. But Naaman did not realize that his victories hadn't been in his own doing. They had been gifts from God, whose help he desperately needed. So in the first verse of the chapter 5, it says that Naaman, the commander of the army for the king of Aram, was a man important to his master and highly regarded, because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. So through him, God had given him the ability to win the battles, right? So then it says here, Naaman had been cured, but he had also been humbled, right? Notice that when he spoke to Elisha, he referred to him as his servant. Elisha was God's servant doing God's work. He wanted to make it clear to everyone that his services were not for sale. With Elisha's refusal of his gift, Naaman left in God's stead, not the other way around. Guys, stop the behavior of self-righteousness, okay? Stop, okay? God does not only want to give you your blessing. Sometimes you might be wondering why you are not receiving your blessing or your miracle, or you're not hearing from God. It's because of your self-righteous behavior. It's because of your pompous behavior. The story of Naaman and the skin disease that he had, and the way God wanted him to receive his healing, shows that God does not only want to bless you with material things or with how you look, but he also wants to change and bless your heart. He wants to humble you, okay? The scripture says that humble yourself and God will lift you up. God doesn't say that that's why sometimes I normally hear people say that please God humble me. God will not humble you. You don't want God to humble you, okay? Trust me, you don't want God to humble you. So I was just reflecting about this because I was thinking about a certain individual that I recently came into contact with, that I found had a very self-righteous attitude, very pompous, higher than out attitude. And for me personally, when somebody comes at that from that particular posture, one of my pet peeves is people who are self-righteous, people who think they're better than other people that look down upon other people. And my prayer is for God to reveal himself to those people, for God to make them see that we are all equals, and that no matter what you have, no matter what status you think you have, you're not better than anybody else. Naaman thought that just because he's a commander-in-chief and God had given him the ability to win the wars and beat Judah, doesn't mean that he was better than the prophet Elijah or the people of Israel, right? But he had to go through the process of sanctification just because he needed the healing. And thank God for the righteous people that were around him, advising him, dude, come on now. If you had to do something else, wouldn't you do it if it was in connection of getting your healing? So God had to not only give him wise counsel at the time, but he had to really humble him, because he thought he knew better, right? So guys, if you have people in your life that have self-righteous behavior, that have that think they are like so hot, this like right now, guys, we're living in a world where materialistic things, the people that people judge you by the people that by what you have. and and they think just because you don't have a certain thing or whatever thing that they think is higher than ours, you're not a good candidate for whatever they are trying to drive in their life. And I simply cannot deal with that, right? So learn from the story of Naaman. Learn from the story of Naaman that God blesses us to be able to do mighty things. It is through God that we're able to work. It is through God that we're able to do business. It is through God that we're able to give wisdom, advice to many people. It is through God that we're able to do all these things. It is not by our might, it's not by our will. These things can be taken away from us like this. We are seeing right now in our country, in our world, where people who are quote unquote the elite, the ones who are supposed to know better, are the ones that are being humbled. Don't think that just because you are in a certain space in your life that God will not put you in a season where you will be forced to humble yourself. You'll be forced to look at other people as equals. Okay, so I wanted to share the story as just not just I don't think it's an encouragement word. It's more of a knowledge word. It's also more of a teaching and maybe prophetic word, because like I mentioned, I've like every day now. I remember last year when I received a revelation that from 2022 going to 2023, we're going to be hearing a lot of people are going to be revealing their true colors, like people who are in pulpits, people who are standing in high regard in terms of society will be challenged. People have been doing things in the secret will be challenged. We're coming to a day and age where people are being revealed for their true self. People are not, you don't think you're just gonna get away with murder. Okay, literally murder, and also murder, treating people unkindly. God is a God. He sits on high. Psalm 115 verse 3 says that our God is the God of the heavens. He sits on high. He does as he pleases. This earth, God has full view of everything around us. He has full view of the decisions that are being made in connection with you that you don't have full view of. He has full view of the person that's going to make the decision. He has the ability to advise, to empower that decision. He has the ability to warn you. You don't have that full view because he is omniscient. He is God all by himself. Okay, your grandma, your late grandma doesn't have it. Your late grandfather, your late uncle doesn't have it. God has that perspective. He is omniscient. He is the creator of even those people that you think are supposed to know everything, that have passed on. People are really getting confused with regards to spiritually where God sits. He sits on high and he does as he pleases. Okay, and God will I always say, don't pray for God to humble you. Humble yourself before God humbles you. Okay, even the scripture tells us, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God and he will lift you up. So I thought I should just share this quick story on 2 Kings chapter 5. If you want to read the entire story, go to 2 Kings chapter 5 and just study the whole matrix. I mean, not matrix, but the sequence of events, right? And how God used a maid to communicate that there was a prophet who could help a commander of chiefs to heal. And then the prophet, who wasn't very big on titles, sent a commander to tell sent a messenger to tell the commander of staff that he needs to go and dip himself 7 times in the Jordan River. So he uses the most unlikely candidates. He uses the most unlikely places, because that's God. God does not operate by the world. He doesn't operate by what we see. Naaman was recommending another river instead of the Jordan River. God was like, no, I'm taking you to the Jordan River for you to get your healing. So again, stop having us. If you are struggling with self-righteousness, if you have pompous behavior and attitude, stop it. Look at the story of Naaman and how God humbled him. You don't want God to humble you, okay? You need to humble yourself, okay? So anyway, I hope that you guys saw some something teachable from the story of Naaman. And I just really love the book of Second Kings. Like, I think Elijah just doesn't have time. You know, he's one of the prophets that is just not impressed. Like, I'm not impressed. So anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome day, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Especially if you find this message that it was speaking to you, please do engage under the comments. It will be completely appreciated. Anyway guys, bye.